this works. Perfect. Man, what a frickin' view from here. It's funny, the mountains that are in the cover of my book, right there. It's kind of cool. Mount Curry, across the way. Love it up here, man. Yeah, I know I'm moving away from here, but I'll be here for a few months of the year too. Don't worry about that one. Hello, Steve. I sent you a story about the big black cats people have been seeing in the southern states. But that is something else. I'd like to know if you have gotten any answers to your question about big hairy friends. Who or what is hunting our big hairy friends? Or the young? I do believe there are other things out there that can take on us, but can they really take on one of the big hairies without repercussions? I listened to all your stuff, so I'd like to know if you have found any answers to these questions. Just thought I would ask. Wade Getzinger, Greenwood, South Carolina. Wade, I haven't... I mean, everybody always... You hear all sorts of stuff, right? A lot of people will hear... I don't know, how do I say this? A lot of people listen to a couple people online that are popular, and then they come off of their sites basically just echoing what they say, what their views are. There's lots of that talk about what's called the Anunnaki or whatever, and the Zetas and all this other shit, which is all hearsay to me. Not hearsay. It's interesting. I take it in, I listen to it, I read it, but nobody's showing me where those words originated from. Nobody is. Nobody's showing me one of these beings speaking to a human being and relaying that story to them. So I can't really, I don't know. I've had, man, think about how many people we've had email in and tell us they communicate with these beings. And I have asked every single one of them flat out, all right, if you're communicating with these things, can you please do me a favor? I don't care where they are. I don't give a shit how old they are, what they look like. I don't care. Ask these beings who's killing them and why. If you're communicating those things, just answer that question to me. So to answer your question, so far I've only had one of those people email back, and they said it is AIs. I believe they said it was human-created AIs. What's AI? Artificial intelligence that are nonstop, possibly pursuing, hunting these things down and killing them. But I guess it's all hearsay until we actually see one of these successful killers of these Sasquatch beings or other beings, until we actually see one, or a video of one killing one or posing down with one or whatever. Who knows? So, no. Have I found out directly for myself yet with proof? No, I haven't. Do I have my suspicions? Yes. Do I think beings or people on this planet are actively seeking out these beings and killing them? Yeah, for sure. What backs that up for me is all of the numerous, we're talking hundreds of experiences of people with guns pointing them at these things, and they don't like it, right? Just use your common sense. It doesn't matter the species of anything. If you point a gun at something and it runs and hides, they are telling you that the gun can harm them, right? So that being said, with all the literally hundreds of people who have contacted us and shared with us the fact that a gun was pointed at these things and it ran, or the second they brought their gun out, the thing took off, he'd be on a tree. That action from those beings is telling us that these guns will harm them. So that really broadens up, makes that really widens the platform, the playing field as to who could possibly be hunting these down and killing them, right? So if they're telling us the firearms to kill them, there's a lot of potential killers on the planet today to kill these and dispatch these beings, right? But I got a funny feeling there's something's going on other than just plain humans when it comes to killing these things, for sure, I think. We're going to find out. As long as you don't quit, you find out. As long as you don't quit at anything, you succeed. I've proven that to myself a million times. As long as you don't quit, you will get the answers. I'm not quitting. We're not going to quit. We are getting answered. Get off me, you little bloodsucker. All right, what do we got? Mark, this is red. so nobody gets angry at me. It's so funny. The shit that people online get angry about, isn't it amazing? It's almost embarrassing. Sharing the human race title with some of the people and what they do online and how they blow a gasket, the things they get mad at. My God. It's just so very bizarre to me. I don't think I've ever gone online and looked up anything and popped a frickin' gasket and attacked. I can't say I've ever done that, ever. I've definitely fought back online for sure, but I haven't gone and sought out people that make me want to puke, found where they're posting, and attacked them. I've never done it. It's like, teach your own. Stay over there and leave me alone. But if you come and attack me, I'm definitely going to fight and jump down your throat. As every one of you should too. And that's not being a tough guy thing. It's funny how many people have called me a tough guy, you're macho bullshit. When meanwhile, all I'm doing is saying F you to anybody who wants to fight, and so should all you. It's just what you should be doing, right? It's not a tough guy thing. Why am I babbling about that? All right, here we go. Listen to this. Hi, Steve. My name is Tammy Heron. I've written to you before. I live in Port Orange, Florida. Here's my story. One day in the spring of 2020, a friend of mine asked if I'd be interested in helping her and her cousin remodel a double wide in Deltona, Florida. I already had a full-time job at night, but I was always down for making some extra money. Anyway, the house is out in the middle of nowhere, off of a dirt road in the woods. It took me about 45 minutes to get out there every morning, and I had fun tearing down the dirt roads. I learned the hard way that it's not a good idea when you're driving a little 2017 Ford Focus. I blew out my axle. Oh no. That sucks. Anyway, after that I decided it was better to take it slow. Good work. Every morning I would pass this area of woods that had an opening. The opening was about 20 yards wide by 40 yards deep. There were no trees, only brush and tall grass, about 5 feet tall. Anyway, for some reason this area creeped me out. The hair would stand up on the back of my neck and I would feel afraid, but I would always slow down and look in there anyway, every time I passed by. One morning while passing that area, I saw something reddish-brown standing about 3 feet above the brush line. It looked like the shape of a head and shoulders. I slammed on my brakes and slid a little ways past the open area. I sat still for a minute, trying to decide if I wanted to go back and look or not. I decided to just go on to work, but after driving for about 3 more minutes, I hit my brakes again. I had to go back and look. I had to see what it was. I made a U-turn at the next intersection and drove back to the opening, even though I was scared. I thought to myself, maybe there was some kind of a red brush or flowers or something, and I just imagined it was the head and shoulders. I had to know for sure. When I got to the open area, it was gone. Holy shit. Could it be what I thought it was? Now my hands were trembling and I was terrified. I made another U-turn, peeling out in the dirt. I hauled ass to work. I decided not to say anything when I got there because I didn't want to get laughed at. When I got to the job site, my friend and her cousin looked like they were half asleep. They used to spend the night there because they both lived too far away to travel back and forth. I said, "What's wrong with you guys? You look exhausted." My friend said, "I didn't get any sleep last night. Someone was walking around the trailer in the middle of the night." "What? Who?" She said, "I don't know, but he was a big MFer because I could hear his footsteps and I could see the top of his head when he walked past the window. He had red hair." "What?" "Yeah, I woke Clay up and asked him for his gun. I sat in the bed with his gun in my hand most of the night." I stood there with my mouth hanging open. My friend said, "What? Why do you look like you've seen a ghost or something?" I said, "You're not going to believe this. I wasn't even going to tell you. I didn't want to scare you, but..." "But what?" And I told her what I saw. "Holy shit, I'm not sleeping here tonight, F that." Then her cousin said, "It's just a Sasquatch. He won't hurt you, as long as you don't bother him." I spun my head around and looked at her cousin. "Have you seen one before?" "No, but the old-timers, the hunters, used to tell me, if you encounter one, just leave him be and he won't bother you." Anyway, Steve, that's my only Sabe sighting so far. I hope it was my last. God bless you. Thank you for reading my story. It feels good to talk about it with like-minded people and not to be judged. I wish we could all sit around the campfire together, sip cognac, and share stories. Peace and love, Tammy Huron. I think it's Huron, Tammy. I hope I pronounced it right. And I got to say thank you so much for making that taking that time and effort out to email all of us here. And who knows who's going to chime in, who's been around that same area, right? And so far it sounds about right, though. You leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. That's what I do, and it works pretty good for me. I don't think I've had too many whacked out experiences for a little while. It's starting to rain a bit. Keep this ball going. Actually, these bugs are starting to come out. It's getting a little warmer. Hopefully you can't hear the raindrops hitting on there too loud to make this annoying. So we'll try another one. It looks like it's going to blow over. Please help me out. How do you say no to a titled email that says that? We don't. I have a favor to ask of you. This is not your normal request, but I feel that you have the... Alright, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this a whole separate email, alright? Because it's absolutely off topic, but somebody needs help, and they've reached out here to all of us, so we're going to give it to them. Understand? I have a favor to ask you. This is not your normal request, but I feel that you have the viewers to help me solve a huge piece of my puzzle. I know nothing is free in this world, so if you help me on this, I'll, in return, provide you with hunting privileges to our farm here in southwest Missouri. You don't have to give me anything. Thank you very much for that generous offer. I know that's not much, but it's all I can offer, and most years there are a few 160 class bucks to pursue. The Missouri state record currently was killed within 2 miles of my 100-acre farm. Okay, that might change things a little bit. Just kidding. Anyway, here's my problem. I was put up for adoption at birth and never knew anything of my origin. A few years ago, laws changed so that I was able to obtain my original birth records. I looked up my bio mother's name on Facebook and learned that she lived just 30 miles away, and we actually have mutual friends. Crazy, huh? So me being me, I drove to her house, and when I arrived, my bio brother, who I've never seen, met, etc., was standing in the yard. It was nuts. He looked just like my oldest son. I asked him if his mom was home, and she came to the door. She was in shock and told me no one in her family knew of me. She refused to give me any info on my bio father and basically slammed the door in my face. Definitely not the way I always thought it would happen, but people in general suck. So my favor I ask of you is that you will ask on your channel if anyone out there had relations with this woman and see if someone comes forward. I just want to meet my bio dad. I'm not after anything but a possible friend and background of my bio family. Her name is Tammy Bowman. She has always lived in the Pierce City, Missouri area. She attended Aurora, A-U-R-R-A-U High School, I believe. She went to Drury University in Springfield, Missouri. I would have been conceived in 1979, possibly by one of her college professors, but that's just a guess. I enjoy your show. Thanks for helping people. Best regards, Chris Davis. Wow, Chris. That's a first. Never had an email like that sent in, but you need help, man. You got it. How hard is it, right? What do we got? We got over 7 million people watching this a month average, or 7 million views anyway. So there you go. It is shared, and I wish you luck. And I hope if you do find him, he's a lot more of a solid soul than she was. Okay? Wouldn't that be great if it works out for you? Keep us posted if it works out. Okay? And to everybody else, please don't flood me with inboxes of these requests. This is a first and an only, and it just came up by a fluke. And we can't get off track too fiercely. Okay, you guys? Wind sucks. I'll tell you what. It's like you can't escape the wind. Wind. I got no use for the wind. None. It scares game away and makes it so you can't go fishing, and it messes up your hair. Just kidding. Alright. Mark this is red so nobody blows a gasket. Kill that mosquito. Hi, Steve. I'm a recently retired detective in Melbourne, Australia with 27 years of policing behind me. Wow, there's a shit pile of experiences. I don't know how you guys do that, man. I want to thank you for your service you're doing for so many people. Your honesty, integrity, and commitment to the community is what keeps me following your channel. Thank you very much for those kind words, and I'm sure I'm speaking for your community. Thank you for putting up with all the human bullshit throughout your whole career. It definitely takes a special kind of personality to pull that off, especially with not just stacking up the bodies and throwing them in a hole with all those evil people you deal with, right? That's what I would do. That's probably why I'm not a cop. Skeptics demand absolute proof of these Sasquatch. We call them yowie, which is based on an Aboriginal name. However, in my career, I successfully won most of my cases based on credible witness testimony. Let me read that one to the people one more time. However, in my career, listen up, I successfully won most of my cases based on credible witness testimony. Got that? The shares on your channel have all the hallmarks of credible accounts from good, honest people. They cannot be dismissed. And no, they can't. And thank you so much for pointing out the obvious to the people at the round table. I've not shared this story while I was a cop for fear of being stigmatized. But this experience, not a sighting, is 100% honest and real. It still haunts me and my brother to this day. 38 years ago when I was 13, my little brother and I and my two younger cousins decided to pitch a tent and camp out in our backyard on a warm summer's night. We lived in the outer suburbs of Melbourne on a treed acre block. At the rear of our property was 100 acres of bush. This is not a habitat suitable to sustain a large wild creature. The back of our property was formerly a billabong, bracket waterhole, end bracket, and a former meeting place for local Aboriginal tribes. I'm not sure if this is significant, but something in my gut tells me it's relevant. At about 11 p.m., my brother, my two cousins, and I were crammed into the two-man tent in the bottom of our yard. We were talking and eating chips until we tired at about midnight. At this point, we were all laying in our sleeping bags about to doze off. All of a sudden, we heard something break the silence. It was something crashing through the brush about 100 meters from us, 320 feet. We all sat bolt upright instantly. The noise was not normal crashing, it was incredibly loud. It was quite literally like a bulldozer with no engine noise mowing down trees and scrub, and it was getting closer. There is no known animal on this earth that could have made this noise, aside from a herd of elephants. The noise stopped briefly, and within seconds we heard footsteps, 2 backyards away from us. Worse still, these heavy and unmistakably bipedal footsteps were coming directly towards us. We were all terrified. We sat cold still and looked at each other with our mouths open. The next thing we heard was the twang of a wire fence that bounds our neighbor's property 30 feet away. The footsteps did not break stride. It sounded as if something had caught its foot in the fence as it stepped over it. But this fence was almost 4 feet tall. Our worst fears were realized as the footsteps continued right up to our tent. This being stopped briefly, huffed, and was breathing heavily intermittently. It walked a full circle slowly around the tent, not once but twice. That would have sucked. Us boys were frozen in fear. We did not make any attempt to look outside. We couldn't move. I mean, literally couldn't move. Being the oldest, I felt slightly ashamed because I was terrified and completely powerless to protect my little brother and my younger cousins. This being then walked away from the tent in the direction it had come from. Again, we heard the twang of the wired fence, but then nothing. It must have been a full 3 minutes before any of us could talk. I told the boys that we would be leaving the tent and taking a specific path back up to the house. We got out and ran, never looking behind us. This experience is burnt into my memory. I can't remember every heavy step. This experience is burnt into my memory. I can remember every heavy step and every deep breath this creature took. I accept that this experience makes no rational sense given the location, but it was real and it was terrifying. There are no bears in Australia, and nothing could have sounded anything like this creature. It was as if it just landed in the bush and started crashing towards us. I wish you all the best, Steve. You're a good man and you're making an impact on so many. Stay safe and take care. Please feel free to use my name. I experienced what I experienced, and I don't shy away from the truth. It sets you free. John Littlewood, it does set you free, as you know, and thank you so much for that share, man. And I'm sure I'm speaking for your community. Thanks for donating a big chunk of your life to dealing with all your society's grief. It's appreciated, even though there's a movement globally to defund police. There's a bunch of frickin' radical crazy movements to do all sorts of silly shit out there these days, isn't there? Isn't it crazy? But those same people that think they're angry at the police are going to be the first ones to call the police when they get shot in the arm or the leg from some dirtbag down the road, right? Anyways, I'm getting off topic. What can I say about that? Probably about as much I can say about as much as that as you can after listening to all these people on the planet emailing here, right? I've never had that happen, I don't think, but let's face it, we've had dozens and dozens and dozens of people have emailed us and told us all about seeing these things appear out of nowhere. And that's a fact that has been reported literally thousands of times. And now we get back to you referring to credible witnesses. Witness testimony, right? I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. For me, I don't even know what my minimum number is. I don't think I have one, but I'll guarantee you, if I hear from dozens or a dozen or 10 to 1,200 people from around the world stating the exact same thing, I'm going with those people. Sorry, it's true. I'm not that stupid. All right, what do we got? Men in Black, another piece to the puzzle. All right, let me mark this as red first, because I usually forget to do shit. Hi, Steve. I hope life is treating you well and you're over that nasty bug. Here's my story. It was spring 1975. I was 10 years old and my brother was 7. Our family was living with our grandparents temporarily while my parents were looking for a new house to purchase. My grandparents lived in a rural area with only one neighbor next door. Acres of woodland behind their house and acres of woodland across the street. They had a long gravel driveway and lived on a small 2-acre lot. They had a 3-bedroom ranch-style house, so me, my brother, Rob, and my grandmother slept in the first bedroom in the front of the house with windows facing the front and the side of the house. My grandfather and my brother Ben were in the second bedroom, and my mom and dad and baby sister were in the back bedroom. One night we were all fast asleep with the windows open, enjoying the cool night air, when suddenly the wind kicked up, the curtains began flailing in the wind so hard that dust and dirt were coming through the screens, on the windows, and then the lights. White spinning lights and a whistling noise came flying past the side of the windows. We all sprung up out of bed. As quickly as it began, it was gone. It lasted about 10 seconds. I looked at my grandmother and said, "Nanny, did you see that?" My brother Rob yelled, "It was a spaceship." Nanny said, "I'm sure it was just a helicopter or something. Just go back to sleep." She got up and looked out the window and then laid back down. My brother and I whispered back and forth for a while, very excited, because we knew it was not a helicopter. After a while, we fell back to sleep. Around an hour or so later, I heard a car pull into the gravel driveway. I sat up and looked out the window and saw them turn their headlights out. By this time, my grandmother's awake. She said, "They probably thought this was a dirt road and made a wrong turn. They'll leave." I said, "Then why do they turn the headlights out?" She looked surprised and jumped out of bed. So did I. We watched the bedroom window as the black sedan drove closer and closer to the house until they were all the way up the driveway. They turned off the car. Nani said, "Stay here," and then she walked to the living room window and was peeking out from behind the curtain. I never disobeyed my grandmother, but there was no way I was letting her go out there alone. I tiptoed behind her. 2 men in black suits, black hats, and black sunglasses got out of the car. I whispered, "Nani, why are they wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night?" "Shh, go back to the room." "Do you want me to get Daddy and Papa?" "No, go back to the room." This time I did what she said. The men walked around the other side of the house and into the backyard, and Nani watched from the kitchen window for a few minutes and then came back into the bedroom. I was looking out the front window of the bedroom. "They're leaving. It's okay. Just go back to bed. They're probably lost, just looking for someone else." I did not believe this explanation then, nor do I believe it now. The next morning, I came into the kitchen to have breakfast, and Pop-Pop was already at the table reading the paper, and Noni was washing dishes looking out the window into the backyard. She turned towards me and put her finger over her lips as if to say, "Don't tell Pop-Pop about last night." I knew exactly what she meant and nodded my head. She went back to washing dishes. Suddenly she said, "Ben, there's a flock of birds pecking at something in the backyard." "Okay, I'll go check it out after breakfast." I said, "Can I come?" "Yes, you can. Yes, after you eat." I scarfed my breakfast down as fast as I could because curiosity was getting the best of me. My grandfather and I walked to where the birds were, and to my horror, there was a huge chunk of flesh laying on the ground. It was the size of a human torso, with no skin, no fur, just bloody flesh with visible arteries and veins exposed. What? I stood there in shock for a minute. I had never seen anything like that in my young life. I said, "Pop-Up, are you going to call the police?" He said, "No, it's probably just the remains of a deer that Mary Lou's dogs got a hold of." I said, "But Pop-Up, there's no fur, no bones, and such big veins. It looks like a dead body. What are you going to do?" He said, "I'm just going to bury it out in the field. You go back in the house." I ran back in the house and told my grandmother what we found and that Pop-Up was just going to bury it. She shook her head in disgust and said in her calming voice, "It's okay, whatever that was, there's nothing we can do about it now." She made the sign of the cross, "Just pray that God watches over it." I was thinking to myself, what? That's it? All I could do is go in my room and sit on my bed and fight back the tears. It's the first time in my life that I did not feel safe. Later in the evening that day, my grandfather came in the house and said, "Rena, what happened to your cypress bushes?" She said, "What do you mean?" "Come look." Me and my grandmother followed him outside and over to the side of the house, where she has 6 very large Italian cypress trees. Every single tree looked like it was burnt from top to bottom on one side. Pop-Pop said, "It looks like something ran them over. They're each burnt on the same side." Steve, these cypress bushes were about 10 feet tall and 3 feet wide. These trees were on the same side of the house that we heard the UFO/helicopter. Most people will not understand why my grandmother and grandfather did not call the police, but they were immigrants and were very old school. They minded their own business and kept a tight circle of family and friends. I know you're not crazy about the UFO emails, but these men in black are part of an organization of some kind that covers things up and tries to keep us in the dark, and it pisses me off. I've often wondered why my grandmother did not want me to wake my father and grandfather that night. Had she seen these people before? Did she experience other goings-on that she kept to herself? Questions I'll never have answered, unfortunately. We lost our grandparents over 20 years ago. Anyway, I hope this adds another piece to the puzzle, because I've heard that these men in black show up after people have encountered Sabe people as well. Just a theory, what do you think? Be well, my friend. I pray to God that Be well, my friend. I pray that God places a hedge of protection around you when you're out wandering the woods, and always. Sincerely, Tommy Huron. Sincerely, Tammy Huron. Huron? Huron. Tammy, thanks for that share. That alarming share. That's quite the that's quite the description. It's quite the experience. I don't know what to. I got nothing to add to it. There's nothing I can say about it. Men in black showing up in the middle of the night with sunglasses on, getting out of a vehicle with sunglasses on is kind of freaking loopier and shit to me. Who knows what that's all about, those guys, but I haven't a clue, man. I haven't a clue. I haven't had an experience like that. I don't have an experience with that sort of thing. I'm sure somebody might, just listening. And you're right. I let another UFO email slip in. I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. I'm going to try to crack down on that, all right? Because we're getting a little off track, although it is 100% related to what we're after, his answers. But like I said, you already know what my motivation is for this channel myself, right? I need people to get back outside like I'm doing. I know some other people were giving me shit because it was obvious that I was reading emails before I shared them. Well, just so you guys know, this is what I do. I crack open my email, and I start going through the emails. And some people are emailing me to give me shit, or some people are trying to sell me something, or some people are trying to get me to sponsor them, and I just start whipping through those. And all of a sudden, here's somebody with a story. And then I'll read through the first paragraph to make sure it's a story, then I copy it, and I put it in the folder to read to you guys when I'm out here. That's how I do it. I think I'm going to have to read down a little farther and try to chop off some of these UFO stories, okay? If they're 100% only about UFOs, I'm going to try to politely tell you guys to please share it to another UFO dedicated channel, all right? instead of here because we're getting off track a little too often lately, and it's valuable time that I have put aside for people who have had experiences out here in these forests with these hairy bastards, right? But thanks again, Tom. I appreciate you emailing me in, and I hope somebody possibly can help you out in the comment section below, maybe, all right? Hebgen Lake story last month made me come forward. Wow. A month ago, all right? What do we got? Steve, first of all, thanks for sharing my story, and thanks for everything you do to shed light on this. I've been following your YouTube channel before the topic ever came up. And with that, I'll get right to it. I'm 63 years old. I've lived in Montana my entire life, so I spent a lifetime hunting and fishing these mountain streams and lakes. Please use my initials, TJ, as I'm still in business in southwest Montana and in a very rural town. This is my first encounter. This happened about 5 years ago in the Tobacco Root Mountains. As with their typical FWP of Montana, always changing rules and regs in our hunting districts, this particular year I went back to a spot that I've hunted in the past. This is my first time back in a few years. The first day I went back to my usual spot just to see that someone had cut a road all the way back in and 4 trucks were there. As there is never a road there before. Pissed me off. Yeah, that's exactly like where I'm sitting right now. Exact same story, man. So the next day I went back in. I knew this one drainage, no one would be hunting it, as it's a real shithole to get into. I dropped my 4-wheel off at the bottom, worked my way up to the top of the ridge, which took a little better than an hour. Steve hunted this ridge on a few occasions when things are dry because there's a spring in the bottom that not too many people know about. As I hit the top first, thing I noticed was how dead quiet it was. No birds, no squirrels, no nothing. Just this eerie silence. As I started over the top, my hair stood straight up. Then this absolute dreadful fear came over me, and immediately in my mind someone was telling me, I need to leave and leave now. And there are these eyes on you. You could just feel eyes all around you. I stood there trying to collect what the hell was happening for a few seconds before I clicked off the safety on my 300 Win Mag. And that's when shit got intense. Steve, it's hard to explain how this happens so fast in a split second. The intensity of fear seemed to get turned up. I knew I had to get the hell off that ridge and now. But the fastest way down was to follow the ridge about 150 yards and hit the same game trail. That was the longest 150 yards of my life. I'm not even sure I took a breath at this point. As I rounded the corner, headed down, I could hear footsteps to my right. It wasn't a bear, wolf, or cat. This thing was definitely bipedal and flanking me at 20-25 yards in the timber. I'd stop, it would stop. And I only did that a few times because stopping to catch my breath is when I really wanted to shit myself because it's still flanking me. I'm not sure how long it took to get to my 4-wheeler, guessing less than 20 minutes, but it might as well have been a lifetime. I fumbled with the key, dropping it twice, trying to get in the ignition. I was shaking so bad. I was about a mile down this winding trail before that dreaded feeling left and wondering what the hell just happened. But this is what brings me to this year's encounter and your story about Hebgen Lake out of the West Yellowstone last month. Steve, I've been a snowmobiler for the past 35 years, and the lower Gravely Range has some of the best sledding anywhere 20 miles from Hebgen Lake, the way the crow flies. It's nothing to put on 100 miles in a day and not see anyone else. So a buddy from East Montana, Dave, came out and I wanted to show him some of our riding spots. This day was an absolute bluebird day with fresh powder and not another snowmobile in sight. After a couple hours of breaking trail, I popped over this ridge doing about 20-25 miles per hour. Steve, I was right back to where I was 5 years earlier. The fear hit me like a brick wall, hair standing up inside my helmet and jacket. My head was on a swivel. I was trying to see, where is it? I didn't need to know what was causing this fear. I knew what it was, and we needed to get the hell out of there and now. So I pinned it and had about 400 yards before the next ridge. I knew Dave was probably wondering what the hell I was doing. I didn't let off for a mile till the feeling of fear went away, and so I could also catch my breath. I pulled up and stopped, and to my amazement, the first thing out of Dave's mouth was, "Did you see those tracks back there? They were frickin' huge." Nope, I didn't see them. He said, "Shit, man, you drove right over top of them. How'd you miss them?" My next question was, "How big?" "Huge, man, huge." He said, "Let's go back and look." I said, "Not in your lifetime. I'm going back there." He started telling what just happened and why I pinned it. and what happened to me 5 years earlier, and that's why I wasn't going back. He started back at the mention of Sasquatch. So I stopped right there. No use. He started to balk. He started to balk at the mention of Sasquatch, so I stopped right there. No use in going any further trying to explain to someone that's never had this life-altering experience. That's my story, Steve. Sorry to hear about Mr. Macaroni. It's hard to lose an animal. They're just an important part of the family. Thanks, TJ, Montana. Wow. Thanks, TJ. You know you're not alone, right? This exact same experience has been thrown at us 100 times plus. But it's too bad. You know what I would have done? I would just told your buddy, go rip back there and check out the footprints yourself, take a picture and bring them back and show me. I'll wait right here. You should have done that. And he would have been balking at anything when it comes to Sasquatch ever again, right? But anyway, let's get far up the mountain. I'm going to show you guys some more shit. And let's look at some more stuff. I'm going to show you guys. Ugh. But anyway, I'm going to get you farther up the mountain and show you guys some more views, all right? I'm going to look around some more at what I'm looking for. And then we're going to share as many emails as I can to the round table of knowledge.